I am going to really enjoy this conversation. We have some incredible people here, and we're going to be talking to the incredible Kelly Allen Gray. She's the executive director of the AIDS Outreach Center, and Tarrant County Commissioner Roy Charles Brooks. Everybody knows him. I just didn't say that right, but good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Lynn.
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's talk about AIDS outreach because I can remember back in the 80s, 86, it was a whole different mindset with AIDS. So what kind of strides have you made since the 80s?
So when ALC was first birthed, it was to help persons living with HIV and AIDS die with dignity. And since that time, our mission is to help people who are living at risk and with HIV and AIDS live long, healthy, holistic lives. So many strides have been made with medicine, helping people become virally suppressed so that they are.
When you say virally suppressed, what does that mean? Just in case.
Virally suppressed means that the HIV virus and the AIDS virus that lives within your body is undetectable.
Okay, and that can happen.
It can actually happen.
Because you just said in 1986,
yes,
you help people die with dignity, but now you're helping people live.
Yes.
Wow, that's
yes.
good.
And so a big part of that, and Commissioner Brooks was on our board. He was actually the AOC board president. He was our first African American AOC president. But I'm sure he remembers that when Magic Johnson announced that he
that was in the
had
90s.
AIDS. He was in the 90s, and everyone thought, oh my gosh, Magic is going to die. But Magic was given a directive of, hey, you need to be out here telling the story. People will listen. And so if you see Magic now, if you don't know that Magic is HIV positive, you would never, ever know. Those are the strides that have been made.
So Commissioner Brooks, what drew you to this? Because obviously you've seen a lot.
Oh, I've seen an awful lot. I've been involved in AIDS work for almost 30 years. And Kelly is right. AIDS used to be a death sentence.
Exactly.
Do not pass go, do not collect $200. So our job was to teach people, or rather to help people die with dignity. Now, with the medical advances that we've experienced over the last 30 years, AIDS is not much more than one more chronic disease that you can manage with medication. You can live a long, healthy life if you have HIV and AIDS. If you stay on your meds and do the things that the doctors tell you to do, that you need to do in order to survive. AIDS is now a survivable disease. You can live with it. You can
have a healthy relationship.
Have healthy
people,
relationship.
Used to think that
have a healthy life.
Yes. But I mean, get married and live your life, because that was a thing.
And not be fearful that you're going to pass it on to someone else.
So how do you not pass it on to someone else?
So that's all about the viral suppression piece. That is making sure you take your medicine, making sure that you are attending all of your doctor's appointments, making sure you're doing all of the things that you are supposed to do. So it's no different than if you have diabetes, or if you have heart disease, or cancer, or any other disease that is out there. It is those exact same things.
And it's manageable. I think that's the thing, because I can remember myself how afraid everybody was. And then, was a certain sector of people that everybody thought, okay, well, you're in that area that, that had AIDS or had the virus. But now it's
So, Lynn, there is no sector. Let's be clear. There
exactly.
is no sector. HIV was the gay white man's disease.
Thank you.
And it is no longer the gay white man's disease. It is young African American men who are the largest number of newly diagnosed.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
It is African American women who follows that, because many of our men live a very duplicitous life.
That's a good way to put
And
it.
so we don't, we think we are in a monogamous relationship, and then we get sick,
Yeah.
and we learn that. But the face of HIV is changing, and so it's black and it's brown, it's every income spectrum, it's whether you're single or married, it does not discriminate. And truthfully, it's more of us who are newly diagnosed than the gay white men.
I was going to say, because at first, that for a fact, it was gay white men.
Yeah.
And now you're saying African Americans are at the top of the list. What aren't we doing?
We don't talk about it. That's the first thing. We don't talk about it. We had this conversation, and this is my example that I always use. If I tell you I have cancer, you immediately wrap your arms around me. We cry. We say it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna walk that walk with you. If I tell you that I am positive for HIV, I immediately become the person that you don't want to be around. If I live in the house with you and you're not open to learning about the disease, then I get one plate, one cup, one salsa, one everything, because this becomes mine, and it's only mine, and no one else is going to use it. And so for us, we don't talk about it because the stigma for us is really real.
So has the stigma gotten better? You're
No.
saying that I still only can get one cup and one
Well,
plate?
it depends on whose house you live in.
Okay.
You might get two.
Oh.
Let's
Okay, Commissioner.
but we're being honest.
Okay, okay.
But yes, the stigma is really real. So when we have people who come into our building, we are Vegas, Lynn. We are Vegas. It took a lot for you to walk through that door, and we're going to treat you with the utmost respect and dignity. We're pretty much going to roll out the red carpet for you, because we know how hard it was for you to walk through this door. The flip side to that is your business stays within these walls. And when we see you out in the world, we're not speaking. Unless you speak to us, we're not going to speak. So I was at dinner a couple of weeks ago, ran into a client. I saw him, he saw me. I kept walking. He got up, he came over, he said, "Oh, you're not talking?" Oh, hey. I mean, it's just not what we do. Unless you tell your business, it's never for me to tell your business. But yes, the stigma is real. And so if you think about it, everything happens in church. People who are running for office.
Okay, uh-huh.
They go to church, and they talk about, "Hey, vote for me, I'll set you free."
Mm-hmm.
And the preacher gets up and he talks about voting. He talks about diabetes. He talks about heart disease. He talks about, it's October. It's let's go pink for breast cancer. We talk about all of those things. We don't talk about AIDS.
We really don't.
We don't talk about it.
And we need to talk about
We
it.
should.
As we are talking about it right now, we are talking to, of course, Kelly Allen Gray and Tarrant County Commissioner Roy Charles Brooks, who really almost runs Fort Worth, but
He does.
he does. I know he's humble, but we'll just say it that way. But again, so let's talk about the AIDS Outreach Center. So if someone's listening to us right now and they're like, okay, they're giving some really good information, we're having a good conversation, how do they reach you? First of all, what should they do if someone is suspecting that maybe I might be HIV or somebody in my family?
So you can reach us by phone, 817-335-1994. You can send us a message on Facebook because it is all very confidential. You can send us an email from our website at www.aoc.org, or you can come in. You can just walk through the door and get all of the information.
But do you like have a hood on or a hat or some dark glasses
Some
like you do
people
on
do.
television?
Some
Okay.
people do, and then
Okay.
other people not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you something, Commissioner, because have you experienced where like you've known people that may have passed after having HIV? How do you feel about that?
I think everyone who has been involved in AIDS work for any period of time knows someone who has died of AIDS. As I said earlier, I go back 30 years in this work. When I first came to the AOC, like Kelly said, the services of AIDS Outreach Center were focused primarily on gay, white men. But it became quickly apparent that there was this whole epidemic going on in the African American community to which no one was paying attention. So as I became president of the board, we flipped that script and for the first time opened AOC offices in the Black community and started focusing resources on people of color. We started having discussions with church people, including pastors.
Were they interested? What happened?
At first, they were not interested in even having the discussion.
Okay.
But it was critical to point out to them that there are people in your congregation who are suffering silently from AIDS. It was important to point out to them that they were doing too many funerals for people in their congregations that no one acknowledged had AIDS. They were living, suffering, and dying basically alone.
Wow.
In silence, hidden in plain sight.
Did that help change the,
Over
how they
time
felt
it
about
did.
Okay.
Over time it did.
Okay.
Now it is not so difficult to get that conversation going with pastors and with church people.
And you had a lot to do with that. I mean, let me say what I have to say. I mean, you have a lot to do with that just from the work you've done, is what I'm saying. The work that all of you've done and what this organization is doing. So my question is, because we're going to come back and talk more, because we haven't talked about the Red Ribbon Gala. We got to talk about raising money. And so I do want to talk about more of the work. And then what are some of the challenges that you still face when we come back? And that's what's going on.